Welcome back. Today we're doing part 2 of Heirs of Fate, which is unfortunately more annoying than the previous chapter, despite none of the enemies having any crit weapons. More on that in a moment.
I shall tell you a story of another realm that I will never forget. Shortly after Kana took up the noble Yato, a dragon's roar shook the town's streets. If the town had residents before, they were nowhere to be seen now. The only people about were other children forced from their deep realms. To the east, a prince wandered with only his retainers for company. In the west, a callow butler encountered a knight-errant upon her unruly horse. From nearby came the cry of a dragon crazed with grief. The wretched soul was none other than a second Kana.
Our second Kana this time is unfortunately locked into the Feral Dragon class. This means he's only locked to one weapon, he can't use the weapon triangle, he can't dual strike, can't pair up, can't double, and worst of all, can't benefit from adjacency bonuses, so he doesn't really have any way to boost his hit rates. Dragon Fang once again helps me more than hurts me, as the more often Kana procs Dragon Fang, the less of his attacks I have to actually rely on. His hit is not ideal.
Yes.
Sophie is really our only physical unit we get on this map. We'll get one other, but in most cases that one prefers to target resistance anyways. Sophie comes with both an iron sword and a steel lance, but the steel lance hit is so bad that she'll literally always be accurate with the sword, even if she has weapon triangle advantage with her lance. Her biggest boon is elbow room and shelter. Shelter will only really be useful once, but elbow room is almost never unwanted. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Sophie is the only unit in the entire Fire Emblem franchise that has her personal skill directly mentioned in the story. Furthermore, later on in the story, her personal skill will actually come up in conversation a second time. Dwyer, like Mitama before, is locked to staves. He does have Gentium, which can help Sophie a little bit, but will also be shortly introduced to another unit with that skill. His best boon is the fact that he comes with a mend and a physics staff. Those will be very helpful.
Well.
Here we meet Forrest, Nina, and Ophelia. Forrest is our first promoted unit we'll be getting in this. He has E rank in tomes, but that comes to our advantage because that means the game will give him a fire tome, the most accurate weapon in our arsenal. Like Dwyer, he also comes with Gentium and resistance +2 because he's a strategist coming from Troubadour. His personal skill lets him deal more damage to male allies as well, which does help out a little bit combined with the Brynhilder's might. Also, I know Engage pronounces it as Brynhild, but I think that's a stupid pronunciation. Nina is our only other source of physical damage. She comes with the Iron Bow and Shining Bow, which are very useful in this map. She also has movement +1, and the Outlaw class gives an extra movement on pair up. Shining Bow targets resistance instead of defense, but it actually helps out into our favor, because she almost always deals more damage to it thanks to its high might, and Ophelia's Malefic Aura. Ophelia is our best hit boosting source. She has Heartseeker, which lowers enemy avoid by 20 points as long as she's adjacent to them. She comes with the Thunder, Mistletoe, and Lightning tomes, but she'll mostly just be using Thunder and Forest Fire the entire map. She also has Malefic Aura, which is effectively resistance -2 to all enemies within 2 tiles of her. This will be very important to score a few key kills.
Sorry.
Father.
No.
Hmm.
Sorry.
Nope.
But...
Yes. What? Of course. Listen.
Of course.
The map depicted in the cutscene is the one of Sheev, which appears in Chapter 13 of both the Birthright and Conquest routes of the game. However, the map we'll be playing on is the same one used in Chapter 25 of Conquest.
Ready?
We'll be seeing a lot of samurai and ninjas as a result, which have a lot of avoid. That's the annoying part of this map, as even Ophelia's Heartseeker sometimes isn't enough. Like the info on the screen says, I only have to defeat one of either Asugi or Keldori. I'm going down Asugi's path for this clear because he's a lot closer to the door, which I think is more ideal for how this map's AI works. Nina pairs up with Forrest to let him reach Dwyer and talk to him.
It'll all be okay. Here to help. Of course. What? No. Yes. Of course. Hmm?
Nina gives Forrest to Dwyer, and then Forrest goes above Sophie and gives Dwyer to her and kills the samurai 2 tiles to the north to make an escape route for Kana.
Are you ready for this?
I am in your debt.
Sophie will chip the second samurai, and then Kana will kill. It's important that Sophie attacks before Kana does, because Kana needs to be at full HP for enemy phase. he'll be targeted by a Worm Slayer on this turn. Ophelia, Nina, and Forrest will stay out of enemy range on this turn. Kana will bait some of the enemies to the north, while Sophie will fight the ones approaching from the east. Forrest also gives Kana the concoction to use later. Here's one of the attacks where Dragon Fang would be way more helpful than hurtful, as now Kana will have to kill this guy on player phase. Sophie kills the samurai that she fought last turn.
Well, what?
Ophelia goes below the samurai to apply Heartseeker, which allows Forrest and Sophie to reach 100% hit rates on him.
Wonderful.
Nina goes above Sophie to transfer Dwyer and heal Kana back to full HP with Mend. Kana moves off his spot and uses the concoction. Ophelia will take his place to finish off the weak samurai and allow Forrest to once again kill the full HP one with perfect accuracy.
Why, thank you.
Nina gives Dwyer back to Sophie so she can enemy phase the Spear Fighter and Oni Savage without having to take any damage at all.
This isn't my job. Watch out. Why are we doing this?
Ophelia is able to apply Heartseeker to the Spear Fighter during the process of killing this Oni chieftain. She doesn't technically need lightning here, but it's more accurate than relying on Nina's dual strike. Thanks to Malefic Aura, if Nina attacks with a Shining Bow using Sophie's dual strike, the Spear Fighter should always die, even if it procs Pavis twice. Forrest moves up to trigger the Automata into attacking him. With Sophie's sword dual strike, both will have weapon triangle advantage against this Yumi and have perfect accuracy. This will also trigger the second Automaton nearby, but we won't have to worry about it until a few turns from now.
Wonderful.
The second one chose to go left, which is extremely rare. I had played this section about 10 times in testing, and of course, the moment I hit the record button is when strange behaviors that I've never seen before occur. Anyways, I'm having Nina enemy phase one of the ninjas, and she'll be able to clean up the other one on the subsequent player phase. If Forrest had taken any damage, make sure you find time to heal him, optimally by moving Forrest before Dwyer.
I'll protect you. Fashion forward.
My heart is racing.
If Forrest didn't land that attack and the ninja lived, Forrest would be able to go adjacent to Nina and kill the ninja using her dual strike. Ophelia applies Heartseeker to the second ninja, and then Nina uses Sophie's dual strike to kill that one.
I'll do my best. Me too. Oh, that was exciting.
Dwyer and Kana head north in order to intercept Shiro, who I'd rather get rid of immediately. Ophelia pairs up with Dwyer so she can get carried into a non-invasive spot to apply Heartseeker. Kana now goes on the pillars to attack Shiro. Unfortunately, he doesn't benefit from Dwyer's adjacency bonus here. Well, that made things easy. If Kana didn't kill or missed Shiro, then I'd have Forrest attack next to Kana with Nina on his left. Kana does enough damage for Forrest and Nina's dual strike to both deal enough damage on their own to kill, so the odds of victory aren't actually all too low. If Forrest failed to kill Shiro, Sophie would be able to go in the spot above Forrest and pick him off. Worst case scenario, it's just a reset. Normally here, the automata would be one tile north or one tile west of Ophelia, and she would be able to apply Heartseeker by just standing in the spot she's in now. One single automaton isn't going to throw off the entire clear, but it is quite annoying that I'm not able to do my normal positioning here, because I liked it a lot more. There is positioning that I could have done that was way better here, that would have resulted in me getting to use Heartseeker, but I wanted to be as faithful to my original plan as I could. Again, if I missed here, there would absolutely be no problem. I'd just have to take an extra turn to clean up.
Why, thank you.
Approaching Rajat's group, I first want to go in her range, but not in range of the ninjas. They all activate in pairs, so if Rajat gets activated, the other diviner starts heading down the right hallway towards Ophelia's company. Once I go in range of the ninjas, one will start dual striking with Rajat against Forrest, and the other will head south to attack Nina, who I will directly put in its range. Until the diviner reaches a spot where I can kill it outside of the ninja's range, I will leave Forrest attacking Rajat with fire on enemy phase, while Dwyer and Sophie stand by unequipped. I don't want Sophie to attack Rajat because if she crits, it will mess with the ninja's AI, which is also why I'm strictly fighting on enemy phase. Once the diviner and ninja are dealt with on Nina's side, I'm going to continuously enemy phase until Rajat is dead. This will always guarantee that I can perform the same actions on the subsequent turns every time, even if it's significantly slower in turn count. Sacrificing turn count for consistency is part of some of the decision making that I have to make when going through these chapters. This will take a while. Now that Rajat's finally dead, I move Nina in range of the ninja to do the exact same thing I did to the last one. Forest's group will stay clear of enemy range this turn. This turn is spent getting everyone into position to pursue the next group of enemies, the Oni Savages in the top left of the map. Along the way, Forrest grabs the rescue staff with his chest key that he took from Rajat. If you're wondering about the contents of the other side's chest, it's also a rescue staff. Ophelia goes on the pillars, barely in range of the Oni Savage on the right. Backing her up will be Forrest, who gives Ophelia the fire tome. Nina pairs up with Dwyer to back up Sophie, who will go in range of the left Oni Savage. Nina will stay unequipped in order to not rely on any bad hit rates. After pulling these enemies, the paired samurai will push forwards as well. It will choose to either pursue Ophelia or Sophie, and for my strategy to work, I need it to go for Ophelia. Unfortunately, it seems that if Sophie takes damage but Ophelia doesn't, the samurai will prefer Sophie, and in my testings, any other outcome will prefer Ophelia. Ideally, Ophelia just takes the damage here, but unfortunately she's required to be standing on the pillars because if she goes even one tile further up, she'll get attacked by the automaton and trigger every single enemy in Asuki's room. This is the biggest risk in the entire clear. Sophie?
Of course I won.
Okay, never mind, it's fine.
Glad to share the moment.
If Sophie hadn't crit, Nina would spend her turn finishing off the Oni Savage. Ophelia, Forrest, and Kana will all move one tile south, and Sophie and Dwyer will go on both open sides of Ophelia. Ophelia is barely inside the samurai's range, which means the enemy is required to use the Kodachi if they want to damage her. This lures them into the one tile wide choke point and makes them an easy punching bag. Sophie and Dwyer move forwards to give more hit to Ophelia, who needs to use thunder instead of fire to deal the damage needed to kill.
My passion burns bright.
Forrest can now effortlessly clean up.
I am in your debt.
To trigger the enemies in Asugi's room, I'm going to have Nina go in range of the ninjas on the other side of the wall. All surrounding units will be for boosting hit strictly, and it's vital that they all stay unequipped here. If Nina kills the ninja on enemy phase by accident, she will die. Also, I need to use the shining bow and not the iron bow, because believe it or not, that actually changes how the enemies behave entirely. If she were holding the iron bow, she'd take a dual strike from the automaton and not the spear fighter. Ophelia goes adjacent to the closest automaton for a forest to kill.
Wonderful.
Sophie will pair up with Nina, and Dwyer will go next to her to apply Gentium to make sure Ophelia is the enemy's preferred target in this phase. Unfortunately, one really bad thing about Ophelia enemy phasing here is that you can't take Brynhildr out of Forrest's inventory. This is really unfortunate because Forrest has crit, and if he crits, Ophelia will take a hit from the automaton, the spear fighter, the ninja, and the ninja's dual strike. She can't survive that, but this is the final risk in the entire rest of the clear. Victory is basically guaranteed now, as the rest of this map is all cleanup duty. Forrest takes out the automaton.
Phew.
After Dwyer heals Ophelia, she'll go directly under the spear fighter to make room for Nina, who will kill off the ninja.
The gods watch over us.
99% hit rate is a tragedy. Ophelia kills the spear fighter on this phase, but in the very, very rare chance that Nina misses, you can just have Ophelia clean up. The rest of my units head close to the boss room. This will take a couple of turns. It's okay to go in Midori's range like this because she won't move unless she can dual strike with Asugi. To attack Midori, I first have Ophelia chip her at one range so she can't counter. Then Forrest can easily pick up the kill.
Of style.
Nina grabs the dragon herbs and then uses them on herself to have an easier time fighting Asugi. Sophie shelters Ophelia to get out of Asugi's range. Nina now just has to continue to enemy phase Asugi until he gets low enough on HP to where she can kill him on player phase after Ophelia applies Heartseeker. Kana and Sophie wait by the door, as the second Asugi dies the door will immediately open and I'll have to book it for the exit. Once the doors open, the enemies on the other side of the map will start rushing towards me, and by going on Asugi's path, I made it way easier to beat the enemies to the escape point. That's why Asugi being closer to the door is ideal. I could have saved a turn by killing Asugi now. I realized in recording, but by then I had already pressed the end turn button. Technically, this is more realistic because if Nina got hit by the debuff, she wouldn't have been able to kill. While escaping, I'm using Rescue on Ophelia, and then on the next turn I'll use Rescue on Dwyer. This is just to make the process go by a little bit more quickly.
Yes.
Hmm? Greetings. Wow.
No. Hey. Yes. Phew. Yes. Why?
When making commentary for my channel, I have general rules that I try to follow. One of such rules is to not overly bash on the writing of Fates, as everyone is very aware of its flaws by now, and that's not really what my channel's all about. I'm here for gameplay first and foremost, but since I'm showing the story in this, I think I'll make the exception and say I really dislike how they portray some of the Gen 2 units in this game. One of the worst offenders of this is Kana. Kana is constantly portrayed as just a complete crybaby. And while other characters that are overly emotional like that can be done correctly, amazing example is Ignatius, which is one of my favorite Gen 2 units, the way they did it with Kana just paints them as plain annoying.
Oh. Yeah.
Of course.
Thank you.
Oh?
It can't be. Huh?
Wow.
Oh. All right. Yay! How thrilling.
It makes zero sense as to why Dwyer is responding to Nina about this and not Forrest or Ophelia.
Wonderful.
Dwyer isn't supposed to know Nina, or what she's like as presented in the story earlier, and it will be addressed again.
Are you okay? Huh? No! Huh? Oh. Huh? Everyone.
You have my support.
Oh,
I see.
yes. Huh?
Sorry.
No.
Hey,
Huh?
truly.
Thank you.
Of course.
Well. No. I'm sorry. No need to worry. Ah,
Oh,
that's,
Embrace the dark.